The infinite layers of the abyss are the physical manifestation of chaos and evil. The murderous, unpredictable underbelly of the multiverse. Each layer is a unique microcosm of terror. On one, geysers of scalding steam flow from tumorous, fleshy plains to roiling skies of turbid clouds, heavy with spoiled pus. On another, what appears to be an idyllic forest dappled with a fresh sunrise instead crawls with chameleon killers and cunning, razor-branched creepers. Each layer presents a different face, but one truth remains constant. The abyss itself works to destroy its inhabitants with a passion and tenacity that might be best described as sentient. Certain creatures manage to thrive in the abyss, relying upon a combination of toughness and guile to survive the rigors of the plane. Some are the corrupted souls of chaotic evil mortals, while others are spawned from the fabric of the abyss itself. They have many names, but on the material plane, they are known by one name: demons. Immoral spellcasters often summon demons from the abyss to commit atrocities or perform vile services. Such transactions usually require conjuration spells, tense deliberations, and a few seconds of uncertainty as the spells run their course. The horrid, gibbering creatures that dance to the whim of conjurers at home are on familiar ground in the abyss, and their numbers are endless. In the abyss, demons do not serve mortals. They eat, enslave, and corrupt them. By a trick of magical force, personality, and intractable will, a particularly powerful demon can entice or enslave a layer of the abyss to its will, shaping it into a pleasing form that mirrors that demon's dark nature. The fortified layers of the abyss, sculptured by the demon lords, form principal battlegrounds, and on these battlegrounds, they scheme and war against each other. Today we delve into the depths of the abyss, exploring its history, ecology, creatures, and famously recorded locations. The Fraternity of Order, a law-minded faction formerly based in the portal-rich planar city of Sigil long ago, established an official catalogue of discovered abyssal layers. These Cenobites, loyal to the Order, constantly update and expand upon the illuminated compendia of notes and legends about these places, selling the works in marketplaces to fund Order-sponsored expeditions to the abyss. Few of these volumes eventually make their way to the material plane, and thence into the hands of vile spellcasters or wicked cultists who treat them as inspirational reading or maps to unthinkable power. For numerological reasons, many scholars believe that the number of infinite abyssal layers is equal to 666, but at the current rate of discovery, it seems likely there are many more. In the age before ages, eons before the rise of mortals, the Oberiths were seen to have ruled the abyss. Of all the being of creation, they alone possessed the cunning and natural defenses to survive within the harsh, seemingly infinite realm of utter chaos and evil. The Oberiths' most numerous creations, the Tanari, served in their masters' armies at their decadent feasts, but there were other subordinate races as well. The croaking, cackling lords of the iron fortresses required a constant supply of servitor demons to protect themselves and to seize the domains and secrets of the neighbouring Oberith. The squabbling of the Oberiths was but a fragment of a much larger narrative. For the era of the age before ages was a time of war, where the first conflicts between law and chaos had boiled over from the inner planes into the still-forming outer and the material planes. Eons of conflict shuddered to a stalemate on the material plane world of Earth, a place rich in magic and untapped possibilities. There, on the field of Pesh, in the shadow of a great volcano called White Plume Mountain, Miska the wolf spider, who was at this time Prince of Demons, fell in battle. These opposing creatures were the Akka, lawful creatures of the elemental air. Miska was trapped in an extra-dimensional prison on Pandemonium. Back on the plane of infinite portals, the Oberith alliance fractured, and the Queen herself retreated to the lower depths of the abyss, seeking refuge in a reeking morass called the Steaming Fen. Sensing weakness, the Queen's enemies struck out. The Obyrith lords struggled to maintain their fortresses against these attacks, but they and their demonic thralls died in their thousands. Demons of all varieties fled down the numerous pits and into the bowels of the abyss and an infinity of hostile climates. Some vanished forever, swallowed by eldritch voids or slain by fellow refugees. Others thrived, managing to bend whole layers of the plane to their wills. The Tanari especially excelled in coaxing a sort of symbiotic relationship with the abyss, and with the destruction of the Prince of Demons, now scores of Tanari squabbled for the title. With the retreat of the Queen of Chaos and the scattering of the Obyriths, the greater law and chaos conflict collapsed into an awkward stalemate between opposing philosophies that has more or less maintained itself until the current era. But some combatants could not give up the fight, for peace was not in their nature. Long after the planes at large had settled into an uneasy peace, demons and devils continued to destroy each other in vast numbers, their battles touching all the lower planes and devouring countless generations. This conflict eventually became known as the Blood War, and its historical origins in the law and chaos conflict became less important to its participants than its tradition of endless brutality. While the foot soldiers and generals led the conflict on the battlefields throughout the lower planes, the domestic front became embroiled in a conflict of its own. As powerful Tanari, who emerged from the deepest layers of the abyss as masters of their realms, began to squabble over who would assume rulership of all demonkind. At the same time, these Tanaric scions scoured the whole of the abyss in search of surviving Obyriths, whom they murdered in great numbers in an attempt to erase them utterly from history. In time, it became clear that the Tanari were too numerous, too resentful, and too chaotic to unify under a single ruler. The demons fell upon each other with zeal, initiating a conflict of demon versus demon that is no less brutal than the Blood War, for all its occasional subtlety. It is this conflict that defines the modern abyss and shapes the lives of its inhabitants. Generally, explorers or adventurers use the arcane magic of the astral projection spell to make their way around the plane. This ensures that their bodies remain on the material plane while their astral forms travel to Pazunia, the first layer of the abyss. Deep in the abyss lies a multi-layered ocean, a trackless and bottomless sea thriving with demonic life. The Abyssian Ocean touches upon all the mighty seas and oceans of the infinite plane. No demon lord rules the Abyssian Ocean, and while aquatic sovereigns like Dagon and Demogorgon occasionally travel its waters under special compact, none dare enact any political designs upon the soulless seam, for its depths are the domain of the wretched Murmxicuses, immensely powerful Tanari that command respect from even the most arrogant Bela. These tentacled, many-horned titans rule from huge floating citadels made of millions of tons of fish, skeletons, and razor-sharp shells and coral. Thousands of captives crowd the curving hallways and submerged galleries of these palaces. For each of these Tanari is a great slave master who supplies his charges to battlefields, factories, and arenas throughout the Great Wheel. In the early days of the Age Before Ages, the Obyrith demons sought to explore their home plane by brute force, tunneling deep into the surface of the plane of infinite portals in an attempt to pierce the very heart of the abyss. The bottomless chasm that resulted from their ancient experimentation revealed countless portals to the deeper abyss, which the Obyriths fortified with great bridges and stone fortresses carved into the wall of the mighty shaft. The Grand Abyss uniformly allows travel in both directions, making the chasm a primary destination for explorers and a target of opportunity for ambitious demon lords seeking abyssal layers of their own. The infinite staircase spans all worlds and planes, drawn to sites where intelligent beings have expressed some sort of creative spirit. The expanse ascends into an eternity of hazy darkness, rising to countless landings that each hold a door or doors to someplace else. Although no reliable map of the staircase exists, travelers can generally figure out the nature of the plane to which a door will lead by examining the physical characteristics of the door's landing. Evil planes tend to be shrouded in cobwebs and shadows, whereas those leading to the upper planes generally are quite clean. The infinite staircase touches the abyss in several locations, usually in cities frequented by mortal or demonic artists and performers. The greatest danger of the staircase is not strictly a danger at all, although it will cost its victim their life, their friends, and all of their possessions. Those who venture upon the infinite staircase alone often discover a previously overlooked thin stairway leading off a main thoroughfare to a simple door. This door leads to their heart's desire, where they are never seen or heard from again. Countless chasms and pits scar the arid plain of infinite portals, each leading to a deeper layer of the abyss. Those who enter a pit are immediately whisked through the loops and spirals of the portal's conduit to the lower abyss. Through the Abyssian Ocean and the river Styx, massive demonic magical vessels traverse the abyss. 6 such dreadnoughts exist capable of bringing huge numbers of passengers across the plains in an instant. These dreadnoughts are thought to exist, the product of cooperation between demon architects and Kabbalists in league with the Doomguard. These twisted engines of the ships of chaos feed on mortal souls, and the vessels spew a guttering contrail of withered larvae as they sail across the skies of the abyss. They were originally designed as entropic weapons to be used against the Batezu in the Blood War. In the past few years, they have seen employment as floating citadels in domestic wars between demon lords and mobile fighting platforms for material plane invasions. A bound demon spirit controls the ship with a dull sentience that allows it to perceive the environment, but a moral or demonic captain is required for complex or particularly creative maneuvers. In order to travel from one plane or layer to another, a ship of chaos literally erases itself and everything on board, rebuilding it on the destination plane. The captains of the ships of chaos are well connected in the abyss, and any unusual travelers soon come to the attention of one or more demon lords. Not all abyss horrors have horns and cloven feet. The following hazards and terrain features add an unpredictable and dangerous element to any traveler. While the abyss suffers from severe weather, such as tornadoes and earthquakes, it also experiences atmospheric phenomena that mark it as a truly alien environment. One of the most unusual is the cackle storm, an invisible breeze of demonic laughter capable of drawing victims into its insane cacophony. The first sign of an impending cackle storm is a soft giggling that seems to come from a dozen wicked voices. If a traveler's will is caught off guard, they could find themselves in an eternal laughing fit until death. In places where the physical cohesion of the abyss crumbles, a cloying cloud of oily gas emerges from the surface of the plane itself, lingering in stagnant craters or moving across the land at the whim of some abyssal sirocco. Travelers that inhale this vile vapor must be resolute or succumb to pit lung, a magical disease that assaults the victim's mind. This fills it with images of horror and betrayal, which causes the victim to lose all sanity. At first glance, a viper tree looks like a colorless white beech tree with leafless branches. Its fleshy trunk supports a tangle of serpentine boughs that end in ophidian mouths. The branches writhe and hiss as travelers approach. They lash out, attempting to strike with sharp teeth and deadly venom. Planar lore holds that viper trees are the bastard children of the world serpent Nidhogg, who dwells at the base of the plane, spanning tree Yggdrasil. Pazunia, Azagrat, the Demon Web and Thanatos are four of the most well-known layers of the Abyss. The top layer of the Abyss is Pazunia, also known as the Plane of Infinite Portals. It is a realm of windswept barrens and jagged tors, flickering with swarms of winged demons. An oppressive red sun, heavy with infinite age, bathes the layer in sweltering heat and harsh light. Angry shadows curtain the plains in places, concealing hidden menace. Everywhere are massive pits that plunge into deeper layers of terror. The pits are portals to deeper layers of the Abyss, so that those who descend into them soon find themselves in the associated layer. Some of the most remote layers of the Abyss do not attach to Pazunia at all, and are accessible only from stable gates on lower layers. On the edges of the great pits crouch massive iron fortresses, relics of the Oberiths, now inhabited by Tanaric lords, who have not yet mustered the power to bend entire layers to their will. These warlike, scheming lords use special chambers within the fortresses to project themselves through the astral plane and onto material worlds. They attempt to sway events and attract followers and cultists to their armies. The armies of the Abyss continually clash with each other as the lesser demon lords jockey for position. They clash too with invading armies of devils from Bator, for the layer is one of the primary fronts of the Blood War. Not all visitors to Pazunia come to fight. Because it is a gateway to most of the plane, the layer draws merchants, explorers, and occultists from around the Great Wheel. The layer is self-contained, but is so large that huge sections of it remain essentially unexplored. The chattering markets and writhing pleasure palaces of Azagrat draw visitors from around the Great Wheel. They come seeking obscure magical lore or perverse delights unavailable elsewhere. The triple realm of Azagrat consists of three distinct layers woven together by the demon lord Grast. He is the dark prince of tyranny and despotism who controls the largest empire in the Abyss. Azagrat's markets boast a staggering variety of products, services, and exotic slaves. Grast himself profits greatly from this business, and by the Dark Prince's personal decree, any merchant bearing his six-fingered sign is to be considered safe from harassment from the inhabitants of this layer. Thievery is bad for business and is not tolerated under any circumstances. The theme of Azagrat is one of hidden danger beneath a cosmopolitan surface. The layer's cities are all like mazes, and its forests are intractable and full of shadows lurking killers. If Azagrat first appears safe, it does so only to draw you in. Everything on the gloomy 45th layer of the Abyss is somehow doused or subdued, taking on an equally grey pallor. Sunlight rises up from the ground on the 46th layer, where shadows rise like dark columns far into the sky, which is dark at day and grey at night. A wan cerulean sun feebly illuminates the dark sky of the 47th layer, where cold is hot and hot is cold. Flames glow blue, whereas blistering cold gales are ever present. The layer can be reached only by way of Azagrat's other layers and has no connection to Pazunia. Three things bind the layers: massive ovens of green flames that serve as gates, the River of Salt, and the triple city of Zelatar. Some abyssal layers are the realms of demon lords, and others are the realms of gods. The Spider Queen Lolth is a demon that became a god. Her infinite realm is the nexus of some of the most nefarious plots in the Abyss. Lolth seeks to expand her realm by drawing worlds of the material plane into her cosmic demon web. The Demon Queen of Spiders covets the status of the most powerful gods and seeks to achieve their station through treachery, deceit, and murder. The demon web takes the form of an interconnected network of overlapping floors of polished stone. Curved walls of sticky webbing surrounds the pathways, creating tube-like corridors. A billowing infinity of putrid grey clouds suffuses the layer beyond the web tunnels. Far beneath Lolth's web, in wells of utter darkness, lie the dreaded demon web pits. Solid metal doors lead off from a pathway into the fog. These portals, in fact, lead to a variety of demiplanes and material plane worlds. Many of these worlds have been utterly defeated by her minions and swarm with dark elves, demons, and other servants of the Queen of the Demon Web Pits. Travelers in the Demon Web must avoid the drow patrols that sweep the pathways, as well as the demons and arachnid horrors that do Lolth's bidding. Most permanent residents of the Demon Web are drow worshippers of Lolth, powerful and arrogant clerics who live to fulfill the dark whims of their goddess. These agents defend the lair from intruders and act as facilitators of Lolth's ambitions upon the worlds linked to her web. Lolth favours personal breeds of demons, such as the Yoklolls, to the general kinds found on other layers. These handmaidens will outrank even more powerful demons, like Balers bound to the Spider Queen, much to their chagrin. Orcus, the fat-bellied ram, headed Prince of Undeath, is one of the most powerful demons in the Abyss. Even some of the plane's deities hesitate in fear upon the briefest mention of his name, for Orcus is more than just a demon. He is a legend that grows stronger with each revolution of the Great Wheel. Orcus began life thousands of years ago as a wicked mortal, whose vile deeds eventually resulted in his death. Thereafter, his soul manifested upon the Abyss as a larva, then a mane. In that form, he toiled long centuries under the lashes of now-forgotten demon lords, eventually managing through sheer will to evolve into a Rutakin. Scribes suggest that Orcus next became a Nofeshni, and that he sat upon the 400th layer's Court of Woe during the era of the Githyanki revolt against the Illithid Empire. Eventually, Orcus conquered the 113th layer and became a demon lord with the appearance he retains to this day. As grey clouds fill the cold black skies of Thanatos, the belly of death, where daylight never intrudes, the layer's immense melancholic moon changes phases at random when covered by clouds, making time difficult to measure. A handful of cities crouch upon the layer's vast tundras, havens for the mortal and immortal cultists who seek to emulate the life of their demonic patron. Outside the cities, roving hordes of thousands of undead roam across the land in search of flesh. The strongest and most ambitious of Orcus's thralls attempt to dominate and command these armies. They lead them on invasions of the material plane and the layers of rival demon princes like Gast and Demogorgon. Very little plant life exists on Thanatos. Mortals wishing to find sustenance must rely upon the indigenous mosses, molds, and fungi. Visitors stand little chance of survival on Thanatos without the assistance of the Dustmen. The Dustmen are members of a shattered faction who managed to eke out a grim existence here after being exiled from the city of Sigil on the Outlands. The remnants of the faction house themselves in the otherwise abandoned city of Vadrian, but generally have an outpost in all the cities of Thanatos. The Dustmen know the lair well and offer their services for the right price. For some reason, the native undead usually ignore anyone accompanied by a member of the faction. Not so the mortal skull lords and the immortal fiends, who often seek out parties led by Dustman guides lest anyone keep the impression that it is easy to survive in the Abyss. The first demonic inhabitants of the Abyss mostly kept to the plane of infinite portals, furtively investigating the portal pits that led to the lower layers of the plane. Some favoured a more direct approach and instigated an elaborate magical working with the aim of tunnelling deep into the surface of the Abyss. The resulting cataclysm shook the entire layer and claimed the lives of many Oberith lords, but the clearing smoke soon revealed a cavernous crevasse that seemed to stretch into infinity. Exploration of the vast rift revealed countless portals along its cliff walls, each leading to a different abyssal layer. The Obyriths favoured these portals to the ones pocking Pesunia's surface. The crumbling walls, bridges, and ruins that crisscross the rift and hug its walls still attest to their ancient colonization. Because the shaft is thought to be infinite, most planers categorize the region as its own abyssal layer, referring to it as the Grand Abyss. Most of the portals lead to natural arches or underground galleries throughout the Greater Abyss, and since the byways have been travelled for millennia, most portals are heavily fortified. These fortifications often are patrolled by bound demons or guardian beasts. Although the Obyriths seem to have come to an agreement over use of the Grand Abyss, the Tanari brook no such cooperation. Exploration of the rift remains one of the most dangerous means of getting around on the plane. Maps of the Grand Abyss and catalogues of its countless gates can be found throughout the Great Wheel, but especially in the markets of Azagrat and the citadel of Broken Reach on Pezunia. Because the portals of the Grand Abyss are so well known, the layer makes for one of the most heavily travelled highways in the plane. This is a common destination for those hoping to plumb the lower depths of the infinite layers. Eons ago, several powerful Tanari tricked a dozen astral divas into a council of peace. The upper planes had watched nervously as the former slaves overthrew their Obyrith masters, and several celestial powers sought to play a role in the emerging abyssal landscape. After a fierce battle, the Devas were defeated. In their defeat, they were bound to towering trunks of 12 mighty trees in a desolate layer. This bounding sacrificed them in a vile arcane ritual that forever infused the layer with evil energies. The Divas' shattering death screams still haunt the layer, now known as 12 Trees. A massive basalt platform now commemorates the site of the original sacrifice. This is ringed by stickly pines that still ooze spiritual slime in an echo of the blood spilled by the ancient Devas. Tanari throughout the abyss make the pilgrimage to 12 Trees in memory of their defiant ancestors, many hoping to use the platform to infuse their own infernal plots and rituals. Nearly all Tanari throughout the multiverse know of and pay respect to the power of 12 Trees. An affront to the layer is an affront to demons everywhere. Reasoning with the demons of 12 Trees is absolutely hopeless. The few who will even pay attention to visitors aren't interested in what they have to say. Constant disconcerting screams echo throughout the layer, in some instances becoming so billowing within one's mind that resorting to sign language or telepathy is the only way to communicate. Baphomet, the bellowing prince of beasts, dwells at the center of an infinite maze of twisting corridors and trapped switchbacks. Its endless passages connect to several labyrinths elsewhere on the plane. Such connections bring legions of visitors to the endless maze, where they soon become hopelessly lost. Numerous Minotaur tribes inhabit the maze, usually led by half-fiend Minotaurs or rogue Belezos that have escaped the Blood War. These creatures revere Baphomet as a patron deity, and such is their devotion that some eventually escape the maze to preach the gospel of the Prince of Beasts to the Minotaurs of the material plane. For all the demons and shrieking horrors of the maze, the layer supports a larger number of mortals capable of providing succor or danger to visiting travelers. These furtive, untrusting creatures are the lost. The lost are usually comprised of gnolls or humans. Baphomet's wrathful rivalries with other demon lords fuel most of the armed conflict in the endless maze, with vast hordes of demons and mortal warriors flooding the tunnels in an attempt to destroy the Prince of Beasts in his lair. Few invaders manage to negotiate the labyrinth well enough to pose a serious threat to the Demon Lord, but those who do must first defeat Baphomet's creations before they can get a chance at the Master himself. Most corridors in the endless maze appear as smooth-walled, worked passages. Here and there, the hallways open into grand vaulted promenades or constrict to narrow crawlways. The maze is a wonder and reminder that within the abyssal layers, your death is only a moment away. In the beginning, there was light, but in time before that chaos raged. To study the abyss is to study fiends, and to study fiends is to study the abyss. They are interconnected on a cosmic scale. Rage, hate, and roiling chaos enshroud this mysterious place. The abyss is the darkling chaos from which all things come. This genesis has nothing to do with good or evil, just pure churning chaos. If you have any ideas on mysteries you want us to focus on, then leave a comment. Thanks for watching the video, like and subscribe. See you all on the next video.